And good afternoon, friends. So today's the topic is executive, right? So before this, we have already done judiciary. In judiciary, I have done complete length and breadth, and today I will start with executive. Whatever the difficulty you face, you come with your difficulties, but when you will come by tomorrow. So I'll start now. You know, there are two type of executive. One is political executive, one is non-political executive. One same in political executive. If the person is a political executive, he will be the non-permanent executive. If he is not a political executive, simple a government executive, then he will be the permanent executive. Let me tell you one thing. These one is permanent executive, one is non-permanent executive, one is a political executive, one is a non-political executive. Here in India, political executive means non-permanent executive are more powerful than the permanent executive. Okay, you got my point. Non-permanent executive are more powerful than the permanent executive. Why so? Because non-permanent executive are the political executive. आपको पता है जैसे for example कई political executives होते हैं 5 years के लिए होते हैं right? पर उनके जो assistants होते हैं they are the IAS, senior IAS officers, senior administrators, senior executives, but they are highly educated. But maybe the political executives is absolutely illiterate, could be possible. Okay, coming to the point. Here is the executive, yeah, and I enlarge my screen. Then you go on. Legislature, executive, and judiciary. I told you 3 points are there. Are three organs of the government. They are the three pillars, you can say. And I give you a little bit more enhanced that these are the three pillar. And if somebody say what is the fourth pillar, then press will be the fourth pillar. प्रेस मतलब जहाँ पे आपके न्यूज़पेपर्स मैगजीन छपती हैं उसको जिसे आप जर्नलिज्म कहते हो राइट उसे प्रेस कहा जाता है जहाँ पे आपके न्यूज़पेपर छपती हैं दे आर द fourth pillar. So three pillars are legislature, executive, and judiciary. I have already completed one pillar, judiciary. Today I am with the executive. So legislature, executive, and judiciary are the three organs of the government. Together, they perform the functions of the government. What they do? They maintain the law and order and look after the welfare of the people. ये क्या करते हैं ये एग्जीक्यूटिव क्या करते हैं ये बेसिकली इनके फंक्शंस हैं क्या फंक्शंस है मेंटेन द लॉ एंड ऑर्डर को मेंटेन करना and look after the welfare of the people. The Constitution ensures that they work in a coordination with which other and they maintain a balance among themselves. सबसे पहले ये एग्जीक्यूटिव का काम होता है कोऑर्डिनेशन करना. What do you mean by coordination? कोऑपरेशन करना, coordination करना between the many branches of the government. These are the three main branches. उसके नीचे भी तो कई बाइफिकेशन होगी ना, कई और ब्रांचेस भी होंगे. तो कोऑर्डिनेशन करते हैं कि एक ब्रांच से दूसरे ब्रांच से तीसरी ब्रांच ये आपस में कोऑर्डिनेट करके आगे बढ़े, मिलवर्तन जिसे हम कहते हैं, राइट. एंड मेंटेन अ बैलेंस, एक बैलेंस को मेंटेन करना होता है. In a parliamentary system, executive and the legislature are the interdependent. Executive and legislatures जो कानून बनाते हैं और जो कानून बनने के बाद जो कानून को देखते हैं. Legislatures and executives they are always interdependent. एक दूसरे के ऊपर डिपेंड रहते हैं. कोई भी absolutely free होके काम नहीं कर सकता. They have to depend on each other. For example, your parents are depending, you are depending on your parents. After when your parents will be old, you will be a person, a good one, good developed one. Then they are depend on you. So we are always as a family member. Same here in legislatures and executive, they are always interdependent on each other. एक दूसरे के ऊपर ये डिपेंड रहते हैं. The legislature controls the executive. मैंने अभी आपको बताया what that जो मिनिस्टर्स होते हैं उनके नीचे सीनियर आईएएस ऑफिसर्स काम करते हैं. तो मिनिस्टर्स क्या करते हैं? दे कंट्रोल द एग्जीक्यूटिव. लेजिस्लेचर्स जो कानून बनाते हैं, दे ऑलवेज कंट्रोल द एग्जीक्यूटिव एंड इन टर्न इज कंट्रोल्ड बाय द एग्जीक्यूटिव. In this chapter, we shall discuss composition. इस चैप्टर में हम क्या पढ़ेंगे? Composition पढ़ेंगे किसकी? Executive की. Structure पढ़ेंगे. देन फंक्शन पढ़ेंगे किसका? एग्जीक्यूटिव का. क्या क्या पढ़ेंगे? कि फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल हम कंपोजिशन को पढ़ेंगे कि किस तरीके कंपोज होके किस तरीके से कौन कौन मिलके ये कंपोजिशन होता है, फिर एग्जीक्यूटिव बनते हैं. देन इनका स्ट्रक्चर क्या है, कैसे बनाए जाते हैं, और इनका काम क्या है, फंक्शन क्या है ऑफ द एग्जीक्यूटिव ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट. दिस चैप्टर विल आल्सो टेल यू about the changes that have occurred in recent time due to the political practice. मैंने अभी आपको कहा कि पॉलिटिक्स का एग्जीक्यूटिव के ऊपर काफी दबाव रहता है. Politics has lot of pressure on the executive. Whatever the political bosses are saying, executive are doing the same job. वो ये नहीं कह सकते कि आपका ये काम सही नहीं है. उसको जो कानून बन गया, मे बी इट्स गुड, मे बी इट्स अ बैड, मे बी somebody like it, maybe somebody some doesn't like it, that doesn't matter. Maybe the executive who is implementing the law and order, he don't like that particular law. जो आदमी इस कानून को देख रहा है ना कि कानून बने, हो सकता है वो इसको ही अच्छा नहीं लग रहा होगा कि कानून तब बन के तैयार क्यों हुआ. So that doesn't matter. Your personal matters doesn't matter in rule and regulation. Whatever the political bosses used to tell to the executive, whatever the legislatures they used to tell the executive they has to follow. They have no option. उन एग्जीक्यूटिव के पास फॉलो करने के सिवाय कोई ऑप्शन नहीं है, चाहे वो उस कानून को माने चाहे ना माने इंडिविजुअली. Okay, then this chapter will also tells you about the changes that have occurred in recent time in recent time due to the political practice of pressure. After reading chapter, हम जब इस chapter को पढ़ लेंगे तब हम क्या जानेंगे? Make a distinction between parliamentary and presidential executive. Parliamentary executive और presidential executive में क्या अंतर है? Distinction कर सके. Number 2, understand the constitutional position of the president of India. President भी एक executive है. Constitutional position क्या है president की? हमारे देश में constitutional position क्या है किसकी? President की as executive. Know the composition and functioning of the council of ministers and the importance of the prime minister. Prime minister की importance क्या है? Right? And understand the importance and functioning of the administrative machinery. Administrative machinery को हम समझें किस तरीके से एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन काम करता है. नंबर 1. नंबर हम इसको रिपीट करेंगे जब हम चैप्टर को कंप्लीट कर लेंगे. हम एग्जीक्यूटिव के डिफरेंसेस के बारे में पता चलेगा. व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय प्रेसिडेंशियल एग्जीक्यूटिव, व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय पार्लियामेंटेरियन एग्जीक्यूटिव. नेक्स्ट इज कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के अंदर प्रेसिडेंट की पोजीशन क्या है एज एग्जीक्यूटिव. कंपोजिशन क्या है एग्जीक्यूटिव की और फंक्शन क्या है काउंसिल ऑफ मिनिस्टर्स की. राइट. और इंपॉर्टेंस क्या है प्राइम मिनिस्टर की. थर्ड पॉइंट. फोर्थ पॉइंट हम जानेंगे व्हाट डू मीन बाय टू अंडरस्टैंड द इंपॉर्टेंस एंड फंक्शनिंग ऑफ द एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव मशीनरी. इस बात को ये 4 पॉइंट्स है. व्हाटएवर इंपॉर्टेंस क्या है मशीनरी की. नाउ विच मशीनरी? एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव मशीनरी की इंपॉर्टेंस क्या है. देखिए, सबसे पहली बात जानिए कि एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के बिना कहीं भी कुछ संभव नहीं है. हम कोई भी चीज, चाहे छोटे से छोटा चीज, आप अपने बुक्स को, आप अपनी पढ़ाई को कैसे मेंटेन बैलेंस करते हो, कैसे एडमिनिस्ट्रेट करते हो, मतलब कैसे हो समझते हो, कैसे अपने टाइम टेबल बनाते हो, कैसे उस टाइम टेबल के अनुसार चलते हो। तो हर एक काम के अंदर एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन की सख्त जरूरत है। इवन इन योर होम ऑल्सो यू हैव सम टाइप ऑफ एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन. Your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, they do some, if they are senior, they do some administration so that it suits you and suits your home atmosphere also. घर से ही, गांव से ही, शहर से ही, जिला से ही, राज्य से ही, कई राज्यों को मिलाकर देश में एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन होता है। ठीक है, चलिए आगे चलते हैं। व्हाट इज एन एग्जीक्यूटिव? एग्जीक्यूटिव है क्या? अपना पेंसिल, अपना पेन और अपनी किताब अपने पास रखो। Then whatever, wherever I used to tell, underline it. You do underline it. Whenever I say put the point, do put the point also. Fine. Okay. Who is in charge of administration of your school? देखिए हम स्कूल से शुरू करते हैं। Your chairman is there. Your principal is there. Your class staff is there. Your teachers are there. Everyone is an executive and he or she has its own specific duties. Okay. Who takes important decisions in a school or university? Important decision कौन लेता है स्कूल के अंदर, यूनिवर्सिटी के अंदर? In any organization, some office holders have to take decisions and implement those decisions. मतलब जो डिसीजन ली जाती है उनको इम्प्लीमेंट करना, उनको लागू करना बहुत जरूरी है। ठीक है, वी कॉल दिस एक्टिविटी एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन और मैनेजमेंट। हम इसको क्या कहते हैं? एक्टिविटी कहेंगे या मैनेजमेंट कहेंगे या एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन कहेंगे। ठीक है, स्कूल कैसे चलता है, कॉलेज कैसे चलता है, यूनिवर्सिटी कैसे चलती है, देश कैसे चलता है, सरकारें कैसे चलती हैं, और who are the person who are behaving executive, who are taking the decisions. Some are implementing the decision, some are thinking that whosoever not binding the decision, they have to be punished. These are all separate executive branch. Okay, now we call this activity administration or management. But administration requires a body at the top. There is a top body for your at your home. चलिए आपके घर से शुरू करते हैं। आपके जो दादाजी होंगे या whosoever नाना जी होंगे, whosoever grandfather, right? You say that he is an old person, but whatever is his decisions are, the members of your family, they abide by that decision. Your parents are there. जो भी डिसीजंस आपके फादर लेते हैं या मदर लेती हैं, आप सब भाई बहन उस बात को मानते हो। Yes, you can put your own decision. You can forward your own decision. You can forward your own thoughts, maybe not negative, maybe positive. But main decisions comes from your parents, head of the family, same head of the government. Right. So we call this, but administration requires a body at the top who will policy decision making or decision and supervise and coordinate the routine administration function. हर रोज के रूटीन फंक्शन को वो देखता है। कौन देखता है? एग्जीक्यूटिव देखता है। We may have heard about the executives of big companies, banks or industrial unions. Every formal group has a body of those who function as the chief administrator, chief administrator or the executive of that organization. देखिए हर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में बेसिकली चीफ एग्जीक्यूटिव ऑफिसर होता है, जो हेड होता है उस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का। एग्जीक्यूटिव का जो हेड होता है ना, उसको चीफ एग्जीक्यूटिव ऑफिसर कहा जाता है और चीफ एग्जीक्यूटिव एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर। Some office holder decides the policy and the rules and the regulation and then office holders implement those rules. मैंने अभी आपको बताया, एक बॉडी जो होती है वो रूल्स को बनाती है, लेजिस्लेचर्स। साइड बाय साइड ये भी सोचते रहिए ना, कौन हमारे देश में रूल को बनाता है, राइट? तो हमारे देश में लेजिस्लेचर, पार्लियामेंटेरियंस, दे यूज टू मेक द रूल एंड रेगुलेशन। देन रूल रेगुलेशन तो बन गए, अरे भाई उसको अब इम्प्लीमेंटेशन तो करना होगा, उसको लागू भी तो करना होगा। उसके लिए सेपरेट एग्जीक्यूटिव्स आते हैं, सीनियर आईएएस ऑफिसर्स आते हैं, राइट? सो then some office holder decide the policies and rules and regulation, and then some office holders implement those decisions in actual day-to-day life function of the organization. तो हर रोज के दिन में हम देखते हैं क्या क्या रूल रेगुलेशन आए आ गए। एवरीडे देखो, अब आपके स्कूल खुलने वाले हैं कुछ दिन में, तो एग्जीक्यूटिव ने क्या कहा, डिसीजन हुआ ये, इन मिनिस्टर्स के अंदर भी, एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर में डिसीजन हुआ कि तीन जो है 9th 10th 11th 12th और 10th +1 +2 इनको खोला जाए, एंड स्लो बाय स्लो स्लो इंस्टॉलमेंट्स में दूसरे क्लासेस को भी खोला जाए, but not with the one go, right? With wait and watch के हिसाब से। तो ये किसने देखा? एग्जीक्यूटिव ने देखा, परमानेंट एग्जीक्यूटिव ने देखा, नॉन परमानेंट एग्जीक्यूटिव ने भी देखा, राइट? एंड इसको इम्प्लीमेंट किया गया। सेम है the word and regulation, and then some office holder implement. So अब कईयों ने इसके बाद इसको लागू किया। Though decisions in actual day-to-day function of the organization. The word executive means, अब लिख लो, underline कर लो इस sentence को। The word executive means a body of persons. एग्जीक्यूटिव किसको कहेंगे? अ बॉडी ऑफ पर्संस दैट लुक्स आफ्टर द इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशन एंड एक्चुअल प्रैक्टिस। जो रूल एंड एक ऐसी बॉडी जो ये देखती है कि रूल एंड रेगुलेशन को लाया गया है, क्या उसे इम्प्लीमेंट ठीक से किया गया है? यदि नहीं किया गया, so that, and then he has to make some type of responsibility. Who could be, he is also himself responsible, and he gives some responsibility to the executive also, so that rule regulation could be implemented as it is being said, जैसे कहा गया है। So executive का मतलब क्या हुआ? The word executive means a body of persons that look after the implementation of the rules and regulations in actual practice. In the case of government also, one body may take policy decision, decide about the rules and regulation, while the other one could be in charge of implementing those rules, which I have already discussed कि executive भी दो तरह के होते हैं। बेसिकली एक तो रूल एंड रेगुलेशन बनाता है और दूसरा उस रूल एंड रेगुलेशन को इम्प्लीमेंट करता है। हो गए दो तरह के एग्जीक्यूटिव। द ऑर्गन ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट दैट प्राइमरी लुक्स आफ्टर द फंक्शन ऑफ द इम्प्लीमेंटेशन एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन इज कॉल्ड एग्जीक्यूटिव। और जो ऑर्गन गवर्नमेंट के बनाए हुए रूल एंड रेगुलेशन को लागू करती है उन्हें एग्जीक्यूटिव कहा जाता है, सो दैट इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ द रूल एंड रेगुलेशन कुड बी सक्सेसफुल। ठीक है, अब समझ आया आपको? राइट। तो इसका मतलब हमने क्या क्या पढ़ा कि एग्जीक्यूटिव कौन होते हैं, कितने तरह के होते हैं, एग्जीक्यूटिव का काम क्या होता है, राइट? किस तरीके से दो बार एग्जीक्यूटिव बटे होते हैं, सम आर लेजिस्लेटिव एग्जीक्यूटिव, some are implementation executive. Legislature used to make the rule and regulation, law is there. Then after the parliament accept that particular law, then when the law is there, then implementation part starts. Okay, so यहाँ तक हमने इसको पढ़ा। नेक्स्ट आपका टॉपिक है, what are the principal functions of the executive? What are the principal functions of the executive? Principal functions क्या है executive के? Executive is a branch of government. Underline करो. Executive is a branch of the government responsible for the implementation of laws. Main point क्या है इसका? What is the main point over here? Responsible to implementation of laws. कानून को implement करना कौन करता है? Executive करता है. Okay. Then and policies adopted by the legislature. Number two, the executive is often involved in framing of the policy. Executive जो है basically they used to involve in framing of policies. Policies को in frame में frame के अंदर डालता है so that these policies could be implemented as soon as it possible. The official designation of the executive vary from country to country. Obviously, हमारी कंट्री के कुछ और रूल एंड रेगुलेशन होंगे, कनाडा के कुछ और होंगे, अमेरिका के कुछ और होंगे, रशिया के कुछ और होंगे, पर एग्जीक्यूटिव तो सेम होगा. Some is there who are making laws, they are the parliamentarian executive. So who are implementation for the implementation, they are the administrative executive. Some countries have this president. हमारे कंट्री में क्या है? अच्छा पहले तो let's see some countries they have the president. Some countries they don't have the president and the prime minister is there. Some countries have both prime minister also, president also, as India is there. So the executive is often involved in framing of the policy. The official designation of the executive vary from country to country, which I told you. Some countries have president, while others have the chancellors. One is chancellors also. Germany is having chancellor. They don't have the president. Germany has a chancellor, is having the chancellor. Some countries have president, while other countries have chancellor. The executive branch is not just about president, prime minister, and minister. It also extends to administrative machinery, civil servants also. और बेसिकली एग्जीक्यूटिव जो है सिविल सर्वेंट्स तक भी जाती है. Who are the civil servants? They are the IAS officers, right? तो IAS ऑफिसर की जिम्मेवारी क्या है? जो रूल एंड रेगुलेशन बनाए गए, right? So whatever the rule and regulations are there, those should be implemented. While the heads of the government and the ministers saddled with the overall responsibility of the government policy. तो बेसिकली जो गवर्नमेंट की लगाम को थामे हुए हैं एग्जीक्यूटिव, बेसिकली उनके ऊपर पूरी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी होती है. They have got complete overall responsibility of the government policy and are together known as the political executive. कैसे भला? Prime Minister, your Home Minister, your Finance Minister, your Defense Minister, your Foreign Affairs Ministers, they are the political executive. Their head of the political executive is the Prime Minister. Under them, they are the cabinet ministers. Under them, they are the state and independent ministers, the people who are very young in the administrative job. Is it? So these type of executives are there. They are doing their job. While the head of the government and the minister saddled with the overall responsibility of the government policies and together known as the political executive. इनको political राजनीतिक executive कहा जाता है. Political executive कहा जाता है. Those responsible for day-to-day administration are called permanent executive. I told you earlier also that here the political executive they are non-permanent executive, but whatever the rule and regulation they have made the non-permanent executive, non-political executive, simple executive. He is the IAS officers and senior officers of the government. Their job is to see that those rule and regulations should be implemented as it has been told by them, told to them told to them by the senior political executive. So political executive in democratic country, they are very powerful. You see how powerful is our prime minister, but he's non-permanent executive. He's not a permanent executive. What is how when senior IS officers are there? He's nowhere before the prime minister. And he is a very educated. Maybe the prime minister is not so educated. But here in democracy, people used to choose their own executive. That's why those political executive are very much powerful. Are very much powerful. So here I uh, start my revision, whatever I done with you, right? So I told you about the executives, in which I told you legislature, in which I told you executive, and in which I told you judiciary. I have completed judiciary. Now I am completing on the executive part of it. तो बेसिकली हमने देखा कि हमने हम जब whenever we will complete this chapter, we will go through by the presidential executive, then the parliamentary executive. What are the constitutional position? Who are the main person behind the administration? Main person behind the administrations are permanent executive, but non-permanent executive used to make the law. उनको लॉ तो वो बना देते हैं, लेकिन उन लॉ को रूल एंड रेगुलेशन को इम्प्लीमेंटेशन भी करना होगा. दैट्स व्हाई देयर आर टू टाइप ऑफ एग्जीक्यूटिव. परमानेंट एग्जीक्यूटिव आर देयर, नॉन परमानेंट एग्जीक्यूटिव देयर. सो हियर आई come to an end with this chapter, right? With this part of executive, and I told you about what is executive. Then I define you the basic function of the executive, and what is the definition of executive, what is the meaning of executive. Right. This is the page number 79, which I told you now. Right. Take care and read this chapter again, this part again of the chapter on 2 pages. I have completed up to page number 79. You will go through page number 80 and basically figure of page number 81, types of executive. Right. So it's when you will read through, go through these 2 pages plus what I have done with you, then very important part of the executive will be complete for you. But take care whenever you are studying, be thorough with your studies. Thank you. Take care of yourself. Have a nice day. इसको ऑफ कर दे, ऑफ कर.